Okay, everybody, I am really excited to have you here for our enrollment narrative challenge. And it's something that's been on my mind for quite a while. And as many of you guys know, we kind of go through different phases in our business. I don't know how many of you guys, like by the raise of hand, do you remember when we had the 90-day premiere move where if somebody hit premiere in 90 days, you could move them wherever you want? And they actually stopped doing that because there were so many people that could hit premiere, but then they would cap out at premiere because in the beginning, they were able to enroll their friends and family that were supportive, or maybe they knew, a certain amount of people that would enroll and really enjoy the kits. But I have a couple people that I moved to my front line thinking, oh my gosh, this is my awesome builder. It's going to be my sixth leg or whatnot. And then they just kind of sat there and could barely make executive. And it's because that continuing to enroll is such an important part of our business. Actually, it's a really important life skill that you'll need to use in every aspect of your life with your spouse. I remember trying to enroll my husband onto the fact that I spent so much money on essential oils and he didn't quite understand that. And then, trying to enroll people that know you really well and really leveraging sometimes that third party witness to help with enrolling. But there's also times where, I don't know how many of you guys remember the big FDA audit that we had. I had to shut down, and we will all experience this. I'm sure everyone experiences this on some level where things are going good and you hit a roadblock that really defeats you. And I remember I had to shut down a page I had with 80,000 followers, and it was really a majority of where my enrollments were coming from. And I had put years of work into that and had to just take it all down. And I remember feeling like, okay, well, I guess, I'm just going to work on my leaders. And I went into management mode. How many of us have done that? Where, we're just going to help support people to do the work, but we're not actually doing the work ourselves. This is not effective. You cannot effectively expect anybody on your team to do something that you're not doing. It's hard for you to enroll them into something that you're not doing, right? And I don't know how many of you guys have ever felt like you're held hostage by your team. I've been there before where it's like, okay, well, since I'm not enrolling, I don't really have any control over my business. I just have to depend on what other people are doing. And so I'm just pouring incentives in and just really trying to get them on board. And I have to really try to enroll them into pushing for that next rank because it's really what I need them to do, right? But it's really up to them. I don't know how many of you guys have had a builder quit, or has that happened to anybody? We've all had that happen multiple times. And I remember having a platinum and diamond team, and something happened where, she had to leave her business and she sold it. And so another leader came in, and within the course of 18 months, that team went from, it was a platinum, kind of like duct tape diamond, you could kind of push things together. But in about 18 months, it plummeted to premier because that leader was not enrolling. They were just trying to manage, and that does not work well. I have another scenario was I took a premier team that didn't have a lot of leadership, and I started pouring into that team and was able to, in 3 or 4 months, have it reach platinum. But it was because I was able to take control of my business by enrolling people and, getting them not just enrolled with the kit or enrolled to use the products, but enrolled in the business and the partnership of this. And one of the best ways to get somebody enrolled into doing this business with you is to help support them by enrolling people underneath them and helping them get going, right? So this is a skill that is crucial to your success in life in general, but also in doTERRA. So I'm really excited to have Chris Smith here with us. I can see that he just hopped on. And I met Chris a couple years ago because I did reach that level where, like I said, I was in management mode and really depending on my leaders to do the enrolling because I was going to do trainings and programs and courses and incentives. And that really plateaued my growth for quite some time. So I started really looking at what ways I could invest into up-level my leadership and marketing and really make my enrollment process a little bit more effective. And I met Chris, and with a matter of 10 minutes of listening to him talk, I could tell that he had exactly that missing key that I was looking for. Because in order to effectively enroll somebody into something you're into your idea or your plan, you have to be able to clearly and effectively communicate your message and communicate the value of what you have to offer very clearly in a way that connects to them, not just that brags about yourself, but really something that connects to them. And Chris did that amazingly. I remember just going up to him saying, okay, I need to work with you. And then even the process of him enrolling me into paying him tens of thousands of dollars to really coach. He works with high-level entrepreneurs in sharing their message. And so it is really a rare opportunity that we get this type of coaching and mentoring, but it's something that I did want to bring to all of you guys. I know that Chris has done a few retreats with me. Some of you guys have been privileged to attend those retreats and work with him. And he does have an amazing skill. His last name is Smith, so his name is Chris Smith, but I call him Chris the Wordsmith because I can kind of just give all this jumble of like the passion that's in my heart, and he'll just put it through his magical thing and re-say it back. I'm like, oh yeah, that makes a lot more sense. That's how we really want to position something in a way that connects to people and gets them on board. So I am going to turn it over to Chris, who's really going to talk us through the next couple weeks. And I want everyone to get engaged with this enrollment challenge. We will be giving away prizes. We do have a form. I'll put the link in with the recording that you guys can fill out every week. I had some people submit it already, but it's from today until next Wednesday night, and then we'll do drawings on Thursday. But we're going to give away 4 class in the box kits, and then free access to one of Chris's online courses that's valued at $2,000. So it's really an amazing thing that can really help you in your enrollment narrative and just in the way that you're connecting with people in your business. Because that is the heart of what this business is about, is connecting with others and empowering them. So I'm going to turn the time over to Chris. I see him on here somewhere.
Yeah, thanks, Melina, for having me. This is amazing. Hello, everyone, by the way. Like, I feel like every time I get to do a training with doTERRA, it's like my favorite thing in the world. Like, I feel like you guys are my people. I feel like it's a family reunion every time I just put some, I tell sometimes people, like, when I'm feeling crazy, I wake up in the morning and I put on passion and balance at the same time just to see what happens, you know? Today was one of those days, right? And so, look, I believe that your ability to enroll in life is the key to creating the life you want, period, in anything. Like, you can have, like I said on that video, the greatest mission, vision, message, and intention in the world. And if you don't have an ability to enroll people into that vision, it doesn't matter. How many of you, by show of hands, you get super, super excited about the products, you get super excited about the business, you get super excited about what's possible, you get super excited about everything, and it's like, oh, but wait, now I have to go enroll people. And then the excitement kind of, like, you know, can trail off a little bit. That's actually where I want you to get the most excited. Like, where we should be the most excited, we should be more excited, in my opinion, about enrolling than we are about the products. We should be more excited about enrollment than we are about, like, the business. Because it's like, when we have the ability to enroll, that's where we can bless people's lives. But here's why I think sometimes we shy away from enrollment in every aspect of our lives. And I also believe that one of the reasons we shy away from enrollment in business and personally is because we misunderstand what enrollment is. Now, keep in mind that you guys have not heard me once yet use the word sales or selling. Now, a lot of people would say, hey, Chris, you're really great at selling. You're really good at, you're a really good salesperson, and you have this awesome sales training. And you could certainly call the enrollment narrative a sales training, but it's intentional why I call it the enrollment narrative, is because I want to really first today talk about the mindset for enrollment that will have you actually be more excited about enrollment than anything. It'll have you feel confident in your ability to enroll. And I believe that when we sell, it's about us. And when we enroll, it's about them. That's the first distinction I want to make, is selling is about us. If I have something to sell, it means that I'm going to sell you my business or my product or my service. It's about me. But when I enroll, it's about you. Now, a lot of people, when I say the word enroll, they even think that, like, oh, you're talking about enrolling them into your business, or enrolling them into sampling the oils, right? Or you're talking about, how many of you would say that when you hear enroll, that's what we're talking about? We're talking about enrolling them into the products as a customer or the business as a builder, right? And that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about when I talk about enrollment is I'm enrolling them into their own vision of what's possible in their life. And then the products opportunity just facilitates that. Can you guys see the difference between the two? If I'm enrolling them into my products or my business, that's still about me. And the most powerful thing I can enroll someone into is a vision of what's possible for their life, a vision of what's possible for their family's health, a vision of what's possible for their, do you see that? Because if I can roll them into that vision, and then I say, and by the way we facilitate that vision coming to fruition is, this amazing vehicle called doTERRA. And when I started realizing, like, wow, like the most powerful thing I can enroll them into is actually what they want for them, for their life and for their family. That's the most powerful thing I can enroll someone into, is their own vision. And sometimes I can even help them expand that vision of what they think is possible. And so that's the first distinction that I want to make about enrollment, is what we're really talking about is enrolling them. Because if I can make it about them and their vision, then it's really easy for them to see, oh, well, and I see how these products and I see how this business is actually going to allow me to create that vision that you helped me get clear on. Does that make sense? The second thing is, I would love for you, some of you, to type in the chat. And guys, this is, if there was ever a time to be authentic and just vulnerable and real, it's when we're doing these calls together. Like, it always cracks me up whenever we get around entrepreneurs and it's like a contest of who can look the best, right? And I've been guilty of that, right? Like, I want to make it seem like my business is perfect and my life is perfect and my children are perfect and I never have, self-doubt. That's not useful. If we're all perfect, I can't help anyone, and you can't help me if I'm perfect, right? So it's like, this is a time to really be authentic with each other. And so I would love for some of you to share in the chat authentically the energy that you show up to enrollment calls sometimes, or maybe often. Like, what's the energy? Like, kind of what's going through your mind when you're thinking about, okay, I've got this person that I'm going to try and enroll into a sample, or I'm going to try and enroll into a class, or I'm going to even try and enroll them into a kit. Like, what's the energy that you sometimes have when you show up to that enrollment conversation? Nervous. Okay. Thank you, Ashley. What else? I don't want to overwhelm them. I treat it as a conversation. Fear, insecure, worried that they will say no, scary. Yeah. Fear of rejection, pressure, anxious, fear, not confident, sometimes doubt, project my own perceptions. Yeah, that's big. Thank you for that. Bree. Fear of rejection, pressure, don't want them to feel obligated. Yeah, it's like sometimes, Ashley, we're like, hey, I had this really amazing thing that could change your life and change your family's health, but I don't want to like make you feel obligated, so I'm just not going to tell you about it. Right? It's like, it's like, that's sometimes real for us. I've been there before, right? It's like, okay, I want to offer you the possibility that you could show up to your enrollment conversations with a very different energy. And it's the screensaver that I have on my phone after having hired an energy coach. So I would have never envisioned, if you'd asked me 15 years ago, hey, Chris, you ever think you'll hire an energy coach? I'd have been like, what? What is that? And then I started working with a really amazing entrepreneurs in my business. And one of the women that came to work with us, went through our coaching program, she shifts people's energy. That's what she does. So, and she helped me see the energy is a real thing. And I'd hired performance coaches and health coaches and business coaches and life coaches, but I wanted to do something different. So I hired her as an energy coach, and it was amazing. And she had me put on my phone this screensaver with the words, I have arrived. And she said, the thing I'm going to challenge you to do is to, over the course of our coaching, is to embody that energy and that belief, like, I have arrived. And it's not, I've arrived like I'm better than anyone else. It's not like I've arrived like I have no more work to do. It's like, I've arrived in the sense that, like, I have done the work and paid the price and been committed to get to a place in my life where I can make a difference for other people. and I'm going to continue to do the work. But I don't show up with an energy of like, man, I wonder if they're going to find me out that I really don't know what I'm doing. I wonder if they're going to like feel obligated. I wonder if they're going to feel this pressure. I wonder if they're going to feel like, no, it's like, I'm going to show up to the call with this energy of like, yeah, I've arrived. Like, I don't need them to be a customer. I don't need them to build the business with me. And if they did, it would be awesome. And I just want to offer that we're not going to just, snap our fingers and have that happen. But like, there is a possibility that we could show up to our enrollment calls from this very different energy of like, yeah, like I've arrived. Meaning I've earned the right to be here because I've done the work. And I've earned the right to bless your life on this call. And if I believe in what I'm doing, I actually have a responsibility to share it with you. Yeah, I've just arrived. And I don't know. My wife sometimes reads that. She goes, where have you arrived? I'm like, yeah, I'm still trying to figure it out. I don't know. I've just arrived somewhere, right? And so the other thing that I've realized, and it's a little bit of what you guys just did when you just kind of said some of the energy you show up to. But I went through a really transformational leadership course a few years ago, and it was the most powerful thing I've ever done from a personal like leadership perspective. And it was also the most confronting thing I'd ever done. And what they taught us in that course is a phrase that I think comes out of Landmark called listenings. And it's kind of a different kind of phrase, not listening, like I'm listening to someone, it's listenings with an S. And what they teach you is that all of us have these built-in listenings that run behind the scenes that we don't even know they're there running us, and we have them about everything. Like, how many of you think you have a listening or listenings about your spouse that you probably don't even know they're there? They just run you on default autopilot, right? How many of you have listenings about your kids? How many of you have listenings about politically charged subjects? Like, again, these are things that just because of like how we were raised or our environment or our experiences, we have these listenings. And guess what shows up everywhere we are? Those listenings. And they're often running us behind the scenes in the background. And you know what I've realized is we have a ton of listenings about selling and enrolling. So what I want to give you an opportunity to do is I want to give you an opportunity right now. And I want you to write at the top of your page, to me, selling/enrolling is. Okay. So to me, selling/enrolling is. And then I want you just to free flow and don't judge it. If it comes up, you write it down. Every negative, not powerful thought you have about sales or listings that are in there, just let them come up and let them come out and get on the paper. To me, sales and listings, or to me, selling and enrolling is, and just go. I'll give you guys a minute. Don't judge it. Literally, if it comes up, you have to write it down on the paper. So again, to me, selling and enrolling is. Okay, now for sake of time, some of you are like, hey, I'm not even getting warmed up. I could keep going, right? So for sake of time, type some in the chat. Type one or two that came up for you guys. It was just in there. It just came out. Hard, pressure, frustrating, judged, hustle, sleazy, an opportunity, annoying, rejection, cheap, groveling, draining, tiresome, pushy. I love this. Man, you guys didn't hold back. Awkward, uncomfortable, inauthentic, intrusive, nervous. This is awesome. Aggressive, embarrassing. Okay. Can you see how your enrollment conversations might be being impacted with the listenings like that inside of you when you show up to an enrollment call? Yeah. Okay. And I love that there's some positive ones, all about the money, opportunity, self-centered. Okay. Used car salesman. So here's what you're going to do. I probably should have given you better directions. I probably should have told you to write that on a new piece of paper. So what you're going to do is If you wrote that on a new piece of paper or underneath where you have been taking notes, you're going to tear that out. Okay, so everyone tear out what you wrote about your listenings. Okay, tear out the page or tear out that section. Hold it up to the camera. Rip it in pieces. Seriously, no joke. Rip up your listenings of what you have about selling and enrolling. Okay? If we were all together, we would literally burn it and we would do a campfire because this is the campfire effect. Okay? So what you've just done is you're starting the process of taking those listenings that aren't actually true, but they're there for you. Like they're not true, but they're real. Because if I asked you to do the exact same thing, which I'm going to do now, and I want you to say, to me, selling and enrolling is, and I only want you to go in and look for the listenings you have of it where it's powerful and positive. Because you also have listenings of selling and enrolling being a really great thing. So again, to me, selling and enrolling is, and you're just going to put whatever comes to mind for you, whatever comes out, but it's going to be only things that are positive and powerful and inspiring. Okay, I love, some of you guys already tapped in the chat. Sharing love, exciting, fulfilling, beautiful, wealth, helping others, a way to boost the vibrational energy of the planet. Love that. Blessings, empowering, serving, empowering, prosperous, success, exciting, giving hope when hope is lost, a contract, life-changing, truth, deep connection, beneficial, fun, help others be their best, community, authenticity, enhance others and self, happiness, blessing, healing those I love, changing lives, ownership, full of possibilities, sharing knowledge. Okay, you guys see the different, you guys feel the energy as I read those out loud versus like the energy of when I read out the, like, because those listenings are also in there. And we get to decide which listenings run us when it comes to selling or enrolling. And it's literally a decision. Like you literally get to decide before you get into an enrollment conversation, which listening you're going to listen to. Are you going to listen to the listening that says that sales and enrollment is sleazy and car salesman and pushy? Or are you going to listen to the listening that's like, no, like selling and enrolling is like full of possibilities. It's like sharing, it's connecting, it's pursuing wellness, it's showing friends what I love, it's serving. Okay. Is this useful so far? We haven't even gotten into the enrollment narrative, but like this is the thing, like the enrollment narrative doesn't matter if we can't get over like some of this of like how we see it, like how we see selling and enrolling. Okay. Now, the thing that changed the most for me around selling and enrolling, and I want you guys to type in the chat. If I describe a situation, I want you to tell me what term in the business world you would describe, what term you would use to define what I'm describing. Okay. So the scenario is I meet Melina, let's say where she's at. And through my coaching and through my example and my teaching, I elevate Melina from where she's at to a different place around her vision. And then I lead her to that place. What would we call that in the business world? That thing that I described of meeting someone, raising their vision, and then leading them to another place. Mentor, guide, leader. Okay, you guys are hitting it. That's called leadership in its truest essence. So you tell me how that scenario I just described to you is any different than an enrollment conversation. I'm meeting someone, I'm finding where they're at, I'm raising their vision of what they think is possible in their life, and then I'm courageously leading them into that possibility. You guys want to really know what selling and enrolling is? It's leadership. That's all it is. It doesn't have to be this weird thing. We've described and prescribed this name to it called selling. It's just leading people. It's leadership. And when I saw that, I was like, yeah, I could do that. I don't want to sell either, but like, do I want to get on and like listen to people and connect with them and powerfully lead them? Yeah, I want to lead people. And there's no coincidence that I bet if you guys looked, you would discover like me. How many of you can identify that the most powerful leaders that you've seen in your life, personally, professionally, that you would describe as a really powerful leader also happen to be good at enrolling? Anyone else other than me seen that? Do you think there's any coincidence that powerful leaders are powerful enrollers? And I think it's because they get that like enrolling is leadership. Like I have no one to lead if I don't enroll people, including my own family. Like if I'm going to be a leader in my home with my wife and my 5 children, like I have to have an ability to enroll my wife and my children into like what's possible and like what we could do together and what we can create. And then I get to lead and they enroll me. Like, man, kids are the best enrollers in the world, right? Like I can tell especially at this age, my 11-year-old, I can tell him no 57 times and he'll like, so you're saying there's a chance? You know, like if more of us could show up with that type of energy, right? And like that type of like possibility, you know, I'm curious, like what does that change anything for anyone? Has anyone ever heard like that connection that like seen enrollment around just like that it's leadership? What comes up for you guys around that? You can take yourself off mute. You can type in the chat. Like, what do you see in that? Like as a possibility, maybe that's different than how you have seen selling and enrolling. Okay. Perspective. If we enroll, Julie says, do you have a book? Thanks for calling me out publicly, Julie. I do not have, no, I'm just kidding. I have a book, Julie, that's like been sitting in like the manuscript. And I just like, I don't know if it's like this universal like block I have, but I just haven't finished my book. There's no reason for it. So every time someone asks me, Julie, I love it because it does like, it enrolls me into finishing my book. Michelle, I love that. Leadership is a big responsibility. I wonder if people trust me to lead them to the right places. I think some people are afraid of a cult-like mentality. So what I love about that, Michelle, though, is instead of it being that I wonder if people trust me to lead them to the right places, I see it more as like, I'm going to lead people to where they already want to go. So I actually don't see that there's any right place to lead them. It's just leading them where they most want to go in their life. Again, I'm not enrolling them into my thing. I'm actually enrolling them into what they most want for their family and what they most want for their business. And that's what I'm enrolling them into. And so, okay. So now let's like, I was about to say, let's get into the nitty gritty, but I feel like all of this is the nitty gritty, but like, let's actually talk about kind of moving into the enrollment narrative. And so again, if I realize that I'm enrolling and I'm not selling, and I realize that I'm like showing up with this energy of I've arrived and I have the greatest opportunity to lead these people and bless them. Now, a mentor of mine taught me something that changed my life forever around enrollment. And he was a mentor that I would do a weekly coaching call with. And it was interesting because I couldn't stand him at first because every week he'd end our coaching calls with these like 1-line cryptic like messages and then hang up, and I'd have to like wait an entire week to talk to him again and have to decode this like language that he would speak in. And one of the first times he did this to me is he said, Chris, sometime you're going to learn that the key to enrolling in the most authentic and powerful way possible in every area of your life is by having no place to get. Okay, I'll talk to you next week. Then hangs up. And I'm like, what? What does that mean? Like no place to get. I'm like, I have lots of places to get. I have 5 kids I got to feed. And like, I got a business to run. Like, no place to get, no place to, what is he talking about? No place to get. And I just sat there for a whole week thinking like, what is he talking about? The key to powerfully enrolling, the key to like enrolling at the highest levels in area of my life is to have no place to get. And what I learned and what he helped me see and what I kind of connected the dots on is that if I show up to an enrollment conversation with the intention of enrolling someone, which, doesn't sound crazy, right? It's like, it's an enrollment conversation. So my intention to enroll wouldn't be like weird, right? But he taught me that that's actually really limiting. He taught me that it's really limiting to show up to an enrollment conversation with the intention of enrolling. And what he taught me that day was, he said, because whatever your intention is going into an interaction, that becomes your agenda. That's the place you're trying to get. regardless of what they say to you. The only thing that you're going to hear them say is whatever gets you to your intention of getting them enrolled. So you're going to miss all kinds of things that they're saying, and you're even more importantly going to miss a lot of things they're not saying because you're not even really listening to them. You're not really there in the conversation. You're already at the outcome. You're already at the enrollment. So yeah, you're there, you're listening, you're asking the right questions, you're nodding your head, you're repeating back to them, but your mind is not present with them because you have some place you're trying to get. He said, so not only do you not hear what they're saying, the only things that you think to say, just like all of us, like, in an enrollment conversation, we all of a sudden have a thought to say something. Well, that comes from that place of enrolling them. The only things you think to say, the only questions you think to ask come from the place of enrollment. Can you guys see that? And I had never thought about that before. He was like, what's your intention when you go into an enrollment conversation? I was like, to enroll? Like, what else would my intention be? He's like, yeah, that's where you're really limiting yourself. He said, what would it look like? And what do you think would be possible if you showed up to an enrollment conversation with no place to get but to serve them? Like, there was no agenda. There was no outcome you were attached to. And so I'll actually ask you guys that. What do you think might be different in an enrollment conversation if you didn't have a place to get, other than to serve them? If your only intention was to serve them, what do you think might be different? Yeah, they'll feel it. It'll build trust, nurturing. They'd be asking to enroll. It would feel so much more genuine, come across pure, limitless possibilities. They would feel validated, authentic, positive thought. Yeah. The thing that finally blew my mind was if there's no place to get, I can actually go anywhere with them. By having no place to get, we can go anywhere. Anything's possible, right? But by having a place to get, the only thing that's possible is that place I'm trying to get. Oh my gosh, you guys want to know when this is incredible. You realize how many conversations or interactions we show up probably to our spouses and our kids already having the agenda and the outcome in mind and the place to get? And how much it limits what's possible in those interactions with our family. What would it look like to even show up to conversations with your kids with no place to get, but to just really be with them and hear them and see them? So what it does is that perspective, customer or builder, just that human being in front of you, they feel seen, they feel heard, they feel gotten, and they feel that, and you're totally free to say anything and to do anything, because there's nothing. Any of you guys ever been a little bit nervous to be kind of bold, even when you kind of wanted to in a conversation? There was something you really felt man, this person just needs to hear this, and it might be tough medicine, but you kind of held back because you didn't want to, mess it up. You didn't want to mess up the sale or whatever it is. But if there's no place to get, there's nothing to mess up. You can just be free. And that one thought, and you know what was crazy is I actually never started, I never got places faster within my enrollments by having no place to get. By having no place to get, I never had people make decisions faster to work with me or to enroll, because I wasn't putting up these barriers or having this. And you know what was also crazy is not only did I hear what let's say I was doing an enrollment conversation with Debbie. Not only would I hear what Debbie was saying, but I would actually even start to hear what she wasn't saying, if that makes sense. And I'd think to ask her questions that I would never normally think to ask her. These inspired questions. They just came through me. I don't know how many of you guys believe in, guidance or flow or intuition or revelation or whatever you want to call it, right? But it's really hard to get into that place and have those inspired questions come to you, or those inspired thoughts, when we're being run by an agenda, the outcome. So again, this is all before we've even got to the enrollment call, right? So before we even get to the enrollment call, I'm reminding myself, I'm a powerful leader. I've arrived. I've done the work to make a difference in this person's life I'm going to talk to. I'm here to serve them. I'm here to enroll them into what's possible for their life. And I have no place to get other than to serve them. That's fun. That's like, that's where it's like really, really fun. Like, cause we're just talking possibility. Now, it is easy though for scarcity to set in and be like, man, but I actually do have places to get. I've got bills to pay. I've got, yes, but that doesn't need to come from any one person. Like, I don't need to make every single person I talk to a sale. Like, I trust that by being intentional and doing the work and showing up this way, the universe it knows that I need to take care of my family, right? So this is where faith comes in, that I know that if I show up this way with enough people, those people that are really aligned with me are going to want to work with me. And let me ask you this too. When you enroll from that place, what type of person do you feel like you enroll from the very beginning? Like, how is that relationship started? Whether they're going to be a customer, sample the oils, buy a kit, buy the loyalty rewards, build a business. Like, but when they're enrolled from that place, what kind of foundation do you create from the very beginning? Yeah, you just have built this amazing foundation of trust. Like, they're not enrolled because you kind of talked them into it or made it sound so good they couldn't say no. Like, they're enrolled because they're like, they see the vision, like they want to do this. Okay. One other thing, a little more tactical. How many of you have ever made the mistake of going into teaching mode in an enrollment call? Yeah, we all do it. And like, rule number one, no teaching. You're not allowed to teach on enrollment calls. You know what you're doing is you're teaching people right out of enrolling with you. And I've done it. And the reason why do we teach? Why do we sometimes get in the teaching mode and just start teaching and sharing on enrollment calls? Because we care. Yeah, it's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. We're passionate. We're excited. We want to share knowledge with them. And so, Julie, what I mean by teach is, if I get into like starting to teach like all of the details of like the business and how it works and how it can help them, or I start getting into the science of the oils and teaching them like every aspect before they've even committed to like sample them or come to a class. Sometimes one of two things happens. I give them so much information, they literally need to go home and take a nap. And they're like, oh gosh, I just got to go like take a nap and like go get a massage, and then I'll get back with you and tell you because they're just information overload, right? Or sometimes we teach them just enough to make them feel like, oh, I think I got it. I think I already know enough. I don't need to like come to a class, or I don't need to like do the business, or I don't need to like, I can just go buy some oils at my local like organic grocery store. I got it. And you're over there like, no, you got something, but you don't got it. Right? But that's our fault. We're the ones that actually created that. We taught them so much that they actually feel like they got it. And the danger in that is we've just perpetuated them being stuck because they really don't got it. So now they're still going to be stuck, and we don't have someone to work with and that we can change their life. So in an enrollment call, we're there to help them see what's possible in their life. We're there to find out what they want to most like create. We're there to challenge their current thinking and beliefs, which is teaching, but we're not there to teach like, let me give you all the information. Does that make sense? The difference between the two? Because you guys tell me, when is a good time to teach? Like, when would it be appropriate to like fire hose them? Like, teach them all the information they could. Yeah, when they actually are like, they've actually like used the oils, or they've come to a class, or they like, when they have their kit, when they're actually enrolled. So I tell people, like, you can fire hose them with information till like you run out of water once they've enrolled. And that can be enrolled into something. They've enrolled into sampling the oils, or they've enrolled in a class or a kit or the loyalty rewards. But yeah, then we've earned the right to really share with them a lot of information and teach. Does that make sense? But if I meet someone for the very first time and I've barely known them for like a few minutes and I start teaching a lot, it's also, I feel, this is my personal opinion, I don't feel like I've even earned the right yet to teach them and share a bunch of information. I haven't connected with them. I don't know anything about them. So a lot of times we're skipping this critical step of connection and going into teaching, and they're like, intuitively, they're feeling like, I don't even know you, but thank you for the discourse on the origins of like oils and, you know, and I've been as guilty of it as anyone. The last thing I'll say, and then we're going to get into the narrative. The last thing I'll say is no performing or trying to look good on enrollment calls. This is a big risk for me because I want to flex my, like, you know, intellectual muscles and have people see how smart I am and how much I know. And like, I'm susceptible to that. I want to look good. I want to sound good. Like, man, that gets in the way on an enrollment call. Because if I'm like wanting to look good or I'm wanting to sound good, what that turns into is a performance, and people can be entertained by it, but they can't connect with it. You can't connect with a performance. You can be entertained by it. You can, again, be inspired by it. Like you can like appreciate it, but I can connect with real. I can connect with authentic. Okay. Okay. You guys ready to dive into the enrollment narrative? So the reason we call it a narrative is because there's not just one story that's being told. There's multiple stories happening in an enrollment conversation, and that's what a narrative is. A narrative is multiple stories being told. And the first story that we want to uncover, well, let me back up a little bit. Remember that I said enrollment is leadership. And I can send you guys some of this scripting, this language that I'm about to share with you. But what I see so many entrepreneurs and wellness advocates doing is that when they get into an enrollment conversation, they don't frame up the conversation and set the intention and outline the space that we're going to operate in. Can you guys ever imagine a CEO walking in to meet with their team, and they walk into the conference room and they're like, okay, so hey, yeah, what brought you guys in here today? What are we talking about? Like, no, the CEO would walk into the room and say like, hey, let me tell you what my intention is for the meeting. Let me tell you where we're going to go in this meeting. Like, they would take leadership of the conversation, right? They would lead it. Well, that's what people are looking to us to do in an enrollment conversation. They're looking to us to lead the conversation. That doesn't mean control it, but to lead it. And so one of the things I would love to have you start doing is at the very beginning of all of your enrollment conversations, you state your intention for the conversation and you create the space that you're going to operate in. Like, you lead it. Now, here's one of the things that we teach our clients to do. I need one person to tell me what it is you think you want. Like, some of you have been through some of my exercises. So if you have, just chat it here. Or if you haven't, if I asked you, like, what do you want to be known for more than anything in doTERRA? I want someone to chat to me if you already have that clear, or just what comes to mind for you, just so I can use it as an example. What is it you want to be known for more than anything in doTERRA? Helping others. Okay. And then I want someone to tell me, what is it you believe more than anything about this business and the oils? If you just had to say, I believe, like, what do you believe more than anything? Someone just give me an I believe. Okay, got it. So here's how I would start it. We're going to sit down. We're going to exchange some pleasantries. We're going to talk. And then I'm going to say something to frame it up. After we talk, I'm going to say, so the thing I want you to know more than anything is what I'm known for. And what I stand for more than anything is helping others. And what I believe and know is that what I'm about to share with you can absolutely change your life, because it's changed mine. Can you guys see maybe how that might be a powerful way to open up an enrollment conversations? You tell them what you're known for. We always talk about that with our clients. Like, you gotta let the world know what you're known for. And people are like, well, how do I let people know what I'm known for? It's like, you tell them. You don't let them guess what you're known for. You just tell them, right? And so at the very beginning of the enrollment conversation, I would say like, yeah, the thing that I'm known for more than anything is helping people create their legacy. And what I believe more than anything is that I believe that this business and these oils can change everything about someone's life. Okay, so what I'm known for, what I believe, and then you go into and you say, so I want to tell you what my intention is for today's call. I'm going to assume we're having a call. If we were having a conversation, I would just say I want to tell you what my intention is for this conversation. My intention is to add massive value and clarity to you and your life. Why do you think it might be powerful to tell people what your intention is at the very beginning of an enrollment conversation? Let me ask it a different way. If you don't tell them what your intention is, what do you think is going on over there, like on their side of the wall? Yeah, skepticism. Do you think anyone ever, like, that initial interaction with you and they know kind of what it's about? Do you think anyone's ever like, oh my gosh, they're going to try to sell me something? They're going to ask for my credit card. Am I going to get an MLM? Am I going to get a payment scheme? That's all going on in their minds. And you know what we can do? We can either let that sit there, those listenings that they have of our industry, and fester the whole enrollment conversation. And they're going to filter everything we say through that, or we can just get that out of their minds and just eliminate that, like right out the bat. Wouldn't you guys rather do that? Like get them on like an equal playing field with us where they can really hear what we're saying. Yeah, the elephant in the room. Let's just call it out. Like, let's just say like, hey, there's an elephant over there in the corner. Should we talk about it? And just like get that out of here so we can like have a conversation, right? And so again, I would say like, yeah, the thing that I'm known for and the thing that I stand for more than anything is really helping families like take back control of their health. And what I believe that this business and these products can absolutely change families' lives, and it's changed mine. And so I want you to know what my intention is for our conversation. My intention is to add massive value and clarity to you and your life. Okay. And the best way that I know how to do that is to really just dive into your life and your story. So I tell them that my intention is to add massive value and clarity to you and your life. And the best way I know how to do that is to dive into your life and your story. And by the way, this is being recorded, and I can give you the messaging on this too. So best way I know how to do that is dive into your life and your story. And then the next thing I say is, and what I want to find out is I want to find out really where it is you want to go, like what your goals and your dreams are for you and your family. And I also want to find out like what's not working. You guys dive in your life and your story. And I said, so what I want to know is like, I want to know like, where does you want to go in your life? Like, what are your dreams for you and your family? And like, and I also want to find out like, what's not working. Okay. Now here is the big kahuna. You guys ready for it? And this is where like you set them completely at ease and you remove that elephant in the room and you say, and here's the promise I'm going to make to you. Okay, so here's the promise I'm going to make to you. If at any point in time in our conversation today, I really feel like I could help you and your family get where it is you say you want to go, you can count on me to tell you that. And I'll tell you exactly how I would help you get there. So again, I would say, so here's the promise I want to make to you. If at any point in time in our conversation, I believe that I could help you and your family get where it is you say you want to go, you can count on me to tell you that. And I'll tell you exactly how I would help you get there and what it would look like to work with me. So one more time, I would say, so here's the promise I'm going to make to you. If at any point in time in our interaction, I believe that I could help you get where it is you and your family say you want to go, you can count on me to tell you that. And I'll tell you exactly how I would help you get there and what it would look like to work with me. You can also count on me to tell you if I don't feel like I would be the best person to help you get where it is you want to go, but I'll still do anything I can to help you. Why do you think I make that promise to people? What am I doing right there? And what does that create in the conversation? Yeah, like there is no sales push. And I've just let them know like there is, but what I have been authentic with them is, and yes, someone asked, can we write that out? I will get this to Melina and we can get this out to everyone. I'm telling them, if I think I can help you, you can count on me to enroll you. Like there's not like, but if I don't think I can help you, I'm not going to enroll. I'll tell you that too. Like there's no awkwardness here. There's no agenda here. There's not like, I'm here to listen to you and see if and I'm here to understand where it is you want to go. And look, I've done this with people. I've told people before, like, hey, based on everything you've shared with me, like, I don't feel like what I offer and what I do would be the best to serve you, but here's what I would recommend. And here's some ideas I have for you. And I still serve them. Or at the appropriate time, which we'll get there, I'll tell them like, hey, based on everything you've shared, like, I know that I could help you. I know that I could help you and your family get where it is you want to go. And here's how I would help you. Here's where we would start. Do you guys know how many families and people in the world right now would love to have someone speak to them that way? Like confidently look them in the eye and say, I can help you. I know that I could help you and your family. And you realize how rare it is for us to speak that way on enrollment calls, even when we feel like we can. Or how powerful it would be to tell a family like, hey, I don't feel like I would be the best person to serve you. Right? So what I'm really doing in that is I'm just taking all of the perceived pressure, or are they going to offer me something? Are they going to try to sell? I'm just taking it away. I'm saying, look, here's what you can count on from me. The promise I'll make to you is if any point in time in this conversation, I feel like I could serve you, you can count on me to tell you that. And I'll tell you exactly what it would look like to work with me and how I would help you and your family accomplish what you want. And if at any point in time, like I don't feel like it, I'll tell you that too, but I'll still try and help you. I'll still give you ideas and share with you anything I can. So and then Elizabeth, I'm going to come back to your question. What we have to realize, you guys, and I know we know this, but we forget it sometimes when we go into enrollment conversations, is I heard one time at a training this concept of there's a wall of context that we all have. And what the wall of context represents is Melina grew up in a very different home. I was going to make fun of Melina and say in a very different time. She's not that much older than me. But Melina grew up in a very different home in very different circumstances with very different parents than I did. So Melina sees the world from her lens, right? Obviously, right? But then Chris Smith over here, I grew up in a very different home with very different families and very different relationships. And I see the world from this angle. Can you guys, basically what I'm saying is, can you all see that we see the world the way we see it? And we think everyone sees it the way we do, right? And it's sometimes a disappointment to be like, what's wrong with you? You don't see things the way I see it, right? But what that creates is in between me and Melina is this wall of context. And by the way, it's between all of us. My wife has her way of seeing the world and I have mine. And in between us is this wall of context. And guess what all of us are trying to do? All of us are trying to freaking get people to come over to our side of the wall. None of us are willing to like go over to their side. What we're all trying to do is like, no. We actually force people to come. And the way I kind of explain it is we force them to come and slap up against, and then we drag them up over, and then we bring them on our side, and then we throw up all over them about oils and the opportunity and how great it is, and we overload them with information. So when we overload people with information, when we use a bunch of jargon they don't understand, that's us dragging them over to our side of the wall. Can you guys see that? But when I come to someone, I say, look, I'm just here on this call to serve you. That's my intention, is to make a difference for you and your family. And the best way I know how to do that is to dive into your life and your story. And here's what I'll promise you. If I can help you, I'll tell you. And I'll tell you exactly how I'd help you and your family. And if I don't feel like I can help you, I'll tell you that. But essentially what I'm saying to them is like, in essence, I'm like, I'm on your side of the wall. I'm on your side of the wall in this conversation. Like what's important to you and your family is what's important to me. And when that's true, like that is inspiring to people because they feel that. Do you realize, guys, do you realize that we live in a world of how little that actually happens? I'm not just talking to business. Do you realize how many homes are in the world where no one gets on each other's side of the wall? People don't ever feel seen, heard, like the power of being able to be like, no, stay where you're at. Like, I'll come get on your side of the wall. I'll do the work because I'm with you. And you know how I try to really see it and how I envision it is when I'm in an enrollment conversation with someone, I'm never sitting across the table from them. I really view it as like me and Natalia are like sitting like side by side, shoulder to shoulder. And I'm like, oh, that's what you want for your family? Okay, but what about that? Yeah, that'd be awesome. Okay, so tell me about this over here where you're stuck. Like I'm looking at it with her. Does that make sense? I'm over there on her side of the wall, like looking at the vision she has for her life. And I'm like, okay, Natalia, but did you see that possibility over there? She's like, no, I hadn't seen that yet. It's like, oh yeah, like I see that. Like it's not this. It's like this. Like we're looking at it together. So that is the first part of the first part of the narrative is all the mindset work and what I talked about. The second part is like we've got to be a leader and lead this call and frame it up. Like I'm not just going to let like I'm never showing up to an enrollment call and being like, okay, hey, so what do you want to talk about? No, like I'm leading it. Right? I'm committed to them. So once we've framed up that call, here's the last thing I say, okay? I tell them, I say, so I'm going to make a promise to you. If I can get you where you want to go, tell you that, what it looks like to work with me. And if I don't, I'll tell you that. And then I go, how does that sound? What do you think every person says when I ask them, how does that sound? They're like, sounds great. Like, I've even had people before, like actually that do enrollment, that are coaches, that are entrepreneurs, that are in enrollment conversation with me. And I tell them that, they're like, that was the most amazing thing I've ever experienced. Like, I'm going to start doing that in my enrollment calls. Like, I feel so good right now. We haven't even started the enrollment. It's like, yeah. So I say, like, how does that sound? They say, that sound good. Okay. So here's how I transition into the first story that we uncover in the enrollment narrative. And I believe it's the most important story is their story. Now that's a misconception that I think a lot of people have. And I see a lot of like speaker training and sales training that I think has backwards. And that is they'll tell you you lead out with your story. But if I lead out with my story, then I'm making it about me from the very beginning. And remember, this isn't about me. This is about them. Okay. So I'm going to uncover their story, but not their story as it relates to my business and my products. I'm there to listen to their story as it relates to them, the human being. That has nothing to do with like the business. And sometimes you'll even have someone though that you'll say, so and here's how I transition. So again, I end it with, so how does that sound? And Jennifer says, that sounds great. I go, okay, so yeah, Jennifer, like I'd love to learn more about you. Tell me about you. That's literally how complicated and how scientific it is. I go, how does that sound? She goes, that sounds great. I go, awesome. Well, yeah, to start, I'd love to know more about you. Tell me about you. And the reason I leave it so open-ended by tell me about you is more than likely Jennifer will start with what she actually wants to talk to me about, which is important. I let her, now sometimes though, Jennifer will try to get off easy because let's say she knows I'm there and I'm doTERRA, right? And I have oils. And I'll say, so Jennifer, tell me about you. She'll say, well, yeah, like I'm just really interested in the oils because like that. Now keep in mind, I didn't ask Jennifer to tell me about the oils or like, I'm not going to let her go there. Actually, I'll let her talk for a minute. I'll say, okay, hold on. We're going to get to the oils. We're going to talk about that, but I just want to know about you. It is really, really important that I let them tell me about them because I want you to hear this. They cannot connect with us unless we know something about them. They cannot connect with us. Okay, I'll be here. They cannot connect with us unless we know about them. So that took me a really long time to realize that people connect with us through their story, not ours. Does that make sense? It's why some of the greatest therapists in the world, what they're really great at is they're just really great at creating space where people feel safe to tell them about themselves. And then in the sharing about themselves, they feel connected to that person. Now, you have to be careful with this, though, because most people haven't had someone genuinely interested in them or their story in about a decade. And so you could be sitting there 3 hours later before someone even comes up for air, right? So when we can't let that happen because we're leading the call, so we're going to lead them into the next, we're going to transition them from that into the next part. But my point is, I'm going to, and I'm not going to do it as a tactic. I'm going to let them connect with me because I genuinely want to know them. And in order for me to keep my promise that I made to them of, hey, if I believe I can help you, I'll tell you, I don't really know if I can help someone unless I've actually got to know who they are, right? And again, do I need to know someone's life story? No. But usually like within 2 to 5 minutes of real sincere listening and asking a couple additional questions, I can learn a ton about just who someone is as a human being that makes them who they are. And in the sharing of that with me, they feel so seen and so heard. Sometimes they'll comment on it. They'll be like, wow, that was like, haven't had anyone ask me about me in a long time. So a few people have asked about like, how do you do this in a workshop or how, so there's a different structure that we would talk about with how to create the same thing. And it's very similar, but yes, this is very much for like getting someone enrolled into coming to the class, getting someone enrolled into coming to the workshop, getting someone enrolled into sampling the oil. So this is very much like a one-on-one, or you could do it in a small group. Now, someone else asked a question earlier. The problem is with new builders, they have a hard time believing they can do that for people, okay? With this idea of like, I can help you. The thing I really should have said at the very beginning was, who's the most important person that we have to enroll in the enrollment narrative? Us. We're the first great enrollment that has to take place. Like if we're not enrolled, and now for a new builder, it's not a matter of like, see, there's a lot of new builders that have this lie that they tell themselves, just like every entrepreneur in every business is like, well, I'm not qualified yet. I haven't done enough yet. I haven't worked with enough people. And somehow we've made up this story that somehow we have to work with a lot of people before we're qualified to help someone. And the thing I always ask new builders is like, okay, well, have you helped yourself? Oh, yeah. Have the oils impacted your family? Oh, yeah, transform my family. I'm like, oh, so you're saying like, but none of that matters. I'm like, well, no, it matters. I'm like, well, then you're qualified. If the business has blessed your life and the oils have blessed your life and your family's in any way, shape, or form, then you have a transformation. You have a success story. And if in the beginning your first and only success story is you, well, guess what? Welcome to the club. Melina didn't have a success story until she went out and had one. Like her first success story was her. My first success story with the campfire effect was me, right? It has to like, you've got to start somewhere. And I get that we would all love to be like, yeah, I'd love to magically overnight start out my business with 10 success stories of, you know. And sometimes you have to remind yourself like, oh, I am my success story for now. And my success story is enough. I'm enough. And then once I get my first customer, then I'll have my next success story. And then I get my first builder, and then I've got my next success story, right? But your success story of you and what you've done for just you or your family, like that's enough. Okay, Eileen said something that's so profound. She says, I'm finding this so key in finding the right builders. Yeah, like how many of you would love to attract builders that build and customers that buy? Right? Like people that like can't, because we've all enrolled people that is like, man, that is just really not my favorite person to like work with in the business. Or that's really not my favorite customer. Yeah, you're going to have some of that. But what I found is enrolling in this way also has you just way more likely to enroll people who are really aligned from the very beginning. Hey, Melina, I'm realizing it's 4:08 and we had this scheduled for 4. I'll let you guys make the call if we keep going a little bit further and get into just teach one more part of the narrative, or we end, because I also know that I've given you guys a lot so far.
Let's hear from the people, because we do have 3 more weeks that we can break it into. Do you guys feel like you have? I should have known what they were going to say.
Okay, I'm going to go a little bit longer. And by the way, we don't like, this is all recorded, so don't feel like this pressure, like I got to stay on. Although how cool of a compliment would that be if someone let their dinner burn because of my training? That'd be like the best testimony in the world. I'd be like, this one time I was doing this training and they liked it so much, she let her dinner burn. Her kitchen almost caught on fire because she couldn't get off the training.
People neglecting their children that are waiting for dinner. Yeah,
that's right.
I'm sure we can, let's fit in something else because it is recorded. You guys, if you need to jump off, you can jump off and I'll post the recording.
Okay, so the last thing I'll say is, so in the uncovering of their story, at some point in time, again, and the better you get at this, people are just going to want to share with you. But there's not a usefulness in letting them just go on and on and on about their story, because we never get to like how we could actually help them. So what I want to leave you with is, we're there to connect the dots of their personal story, though, to why we're there talking about the business or why we're there talking about the oils. So a really simple transition that I found, it's super effective and it's just super simple, is that where I'll go from, like, I've been asking about them and I've been getting to know just them as a person. I'll say, okay, so yeah, tell me about, like, so how does that, thank you so much for sharing that with me. Now I want to talk about, like, where it is you want to go with your life or as a family. So I thank them for what they've shared, right? When it's appropriate, I don't cut them off mid-sentence, right? But as they kind of come to, or sometimes literally like when they first take a breath, I got to slip in there. And I'm like, thank you so much for sharing that. Like, that is so helpful for me to understand just you, like, and who you are and like how your life has led you here. So what I want to talk about now is like, I'm fascinated, like knowing more about your family now, knowing more about your interest, or knowing yeah, like how does that, like, tell me about where you want to go. Like, where is it you want to get in life? And like, you're with your family, and what are your dreams? And like, so that's where we're going to pick up next time, is that we're transitioning into the second story in the narrative, which is the cost and the possibility. So just so you know where we're going, the second story, we call it the cost and the possibility. And then I hope that all of you are having enrollment conversations in between now and the next call. I hope no one's like, okay, I'm putting all enrollments on hold until I get to this challenge. Like, that's not the goal. The goal is to actually use something. Can any of you see something that you already discovered today that you could go use in your next enrollment conversation that would, yeah. You guys want to know though? Okay. The last tip I'll give you. You guys want to know my like secret proprietary, like the end all be all, like when I actually ask for the business? You guys want to hear what that is? I go, you know what? I think we should work together. I literally have enrolled and closed millions of dollars in business with that line. That's it. Like, now I haven't given you guys the rest of the narrative, but it gets to a point in the conversation where it's clear, like, either I can help them or I can't. But if I can, I literally get to the place where, like, once I've explained something, I'll be like, yeah, so look, like I said, like, I really know that this could help you and help your family. Like, we ought to work together. Why don't we just work together? And I've had so many people over years like, that's it? Like, that's as complicated as it is. That's what you say. I go, yeah, like, because I really feel that's how I feel. I'm like, hey, we should work together. Like, why don't we just work together? And a lot of times people go like, yeah, that sounds great. I want to work together too. Like, okay, what does it look like? Or by asking that question, sometimes they'll be like, yeah, I really want to do it, but here's my concern. Like, so I'll either use it as a way to like close out the conversation and move on, or I'll sometimes use it as a way to like see where they're at. Because sometimes I'll say like, why don't we work together? And they're like, yeah, that's great. How do we get started? But sometimes I'll say, well, yeah, why don't we work together? We should just work together. And they're like, oh, I would love that, but here's my, you know what I mean? But at least like I can go somewhere with the conversation. So I'm going to recap some of that framing that I did, the language I used to frame it up. But here's the goal. Like, the goal of this 4-week enrollment challenge is to not get to the end of the 4 weeks and then be like, okay, now I have everything. It's like, the goal is to like increase enrollments like now. And that's part of the challenge and the contest and some of the giveaways we're going to do. So I'm going to up the ante on the top prize giveaway. Is not only will I give my $2,000 online training, I will do a 1-hour personal session with the winner and help them script out their enrollment narrative, which, by the way, you can't hire me for an hour anymore. Like, I just don't do hourly, like, just because I just don't. But I will personally do a 1-hour session.
Over here.
What's that?
My jaw is dropping. That's
So
awesome.
I will role play it with you. I will like help you personally script, right? And I will do your enrollment narrative, and you can record me saying it like how I would do yours. And then, but here's the thing. At the end of the day, like the thing I'll close out with is like, oh my gosh, like just remember, like you're enrolling something into something that's so beautiful. You're enrolling people into something that's like good for them. It's good for their family. It's good for their finances. Like it's a beautiful thing to be good at enrolling, and it's a really beautiful thing to be good at enrolling when you're enrolling something and people into something that's amazing. And I appreciate you guys letting me come on.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Chris, for sharing. I think I can see people on the screen writing down notes. I've been writing notes. I'd love to put together a worksheet where we just kind of have some things I'll post with the recording. And I look forward to seeing everyone back here next Thursday. I put the link to the form in the chat, but I'll also post it again in the page. And if you guys fill out that link for all your enrollments between now and next Wednesday, we'll do a drawing there as well. So
okay, remember hashtag ABE, always be enrolling. Abe, okay? See you guys.
bye, thank you.